Okay, in this video I'm going to show you how to complete the motivation table for the gap analysis paper. This assumes that you've actually watched and downloaded the slides on the voice threads for Unit 9 and Unit 10, Motivation 1 and Motivation 2, and have also reviewed the slides that I intend to use in class as well when we meet next weekend. So it's very important that you actually look at the slides, view the voice threads, and review the slides for class so you understand the underlying constructs here that I'm going to talk about. To complete the table, let's start with our organization and stakeholder goals. In that table, then, we put our mission, our organizational goal, our stakeholder goals, and our critical behaviors. So you remember that we did. And for the knowledge table, you took one critical behavior for one stakeholder, and you brought that critical behavior down into the knowledge table. And then you asked yourself, do they know how to perform this critical behavior? What knowledge or conceptual knowledge do they need? And what metacognitive knowledge do they need to perform that one critical behavior for that one stakeholder? So you want to do the same thing for the motivation table. You want to copy for one stakeholder, the same critical behavior that's used for knowledge, and copy it and bring it down into the motivation table. So for this little worked example here, let's just take the first critical behavior for teachers in our worked example, and I'm going to copy it. And then I'm going down to the motivation table, skipping over the knowledge in our table, and moving down to the motivation table, the assumed motivation causes and solutions. And instead of the stakeholders intermediate goal, I'm going to actually paste the critical behavior for the teachers' critical behavior. There you go. Because we're not using the goal now, we're using the critical behavior. Don't forget, this is the same critical behavior you used in the knowledge table. So the critical behavior here then for our example is create and teach each lesson plan reflecting state standards content. Now that we have the critical behavior in our motivation table, before we go on, let's go back up and to the beginning of the motivation section and consider what is the motivation indicator. You will remember that the motivation indicators fall into three categories. One of choice. Are they choosing to pursue the critical behavior? Are they persisting and or giving up? Or are they applying mental effort, which means are they applying new knowledge to pursue this critical behavior? So the motivational indicators, you're going to be discussing them at the beginning of the motivation section. But down on the table, let's insert which one you are considering is the motivational indicator. So we'll put it right under the critical behavior and put the motivation indicator. Okay, and is it choice, persistence, or mental effort? Okay, so in this case, I will say that for our case is that the motivation is choice. Okay, teachers are not choosing to create and teach lesson plans reflecting the standard. Be great if I could spell it. Okay. All right. So now you want to go back and think about what are the primary motivation constructs that underlie choice. So you want to decide which it is for your particular critical behavior. Okay. So now that you've done that and you have the choice, or persistence or mental effort. Then you ask yourself, what are the primary underlying constructs for choice in my case here? And one of the primary underlying constructs is that teachers do not value. So teachers do not value creating lesson plans with the state standards, okay? Reflecting state standards, okay? And then how would I assess it? Again, go back to your slides and look at how we assess for value and motivation constructs in general. And basically, you either are going to, if it's a large enough group, you survey them, or you might actually do an interview the teachers. Basically, you're going to ask them, do you value? And that is the key, okay? Then the next thing you want to do is, how do we incorporate value messages? What would be the principle that we want to use, okay? So I'm going to leave that up to you to determine which principle we would be using, and then what solution. Remember our key words, strategy that we used for knowledge. If we are choosing that they don't value, then look for a motivation solution principle that perhaps has the word value or importance in it. And then when you go to propose your solution, then you want to add the two together, so to speak. You want to take the assumed cause, what the principle, and propose the solution. So in our case, the principle might be is that motivation is increased when individuals place value on the task, okay? And the solution then might be is that there should be meetings, for example, with the teachers to talk about the value of the state standards. Now I'm doing this on the fly here, so you want to put the principle and then the citation and for that principle, which I'm not quoting it directly with the year, so I'm going to leave that blank. But you get the idea here of creating the proposed solution along with the principle, just as you did in knowledge. Okay, and then you go on to the next one. And you probably are going to have maybe 2 or maybe 3 motivational constructs here that underlie your assumed motivational cause. It may be interest, it may be self-efficacy, which is very important, or it may be an attribution or goal orientation. You put 2 or 3 of these into this table and then look for the solutions again in the toolkit and also in the slides for Unit 9 and 10 and the slides for the voice threads, the recorded lectures for Unit 9 and 10. So give it a shot and we'll work on it together when we're in class.